Hey guys, this is Michael with the Jungle Gym Reviews. Today we're reviewing a bunch of GetRX'd newly released RX3 power rack attachments. These are made for their 3x3 power rack line with 1-inch holes called the RX3, but will work with pretty much all 3x3 racks with 1-inch holes with some exceptions. The one I am most excited about is the Center Post attachment, which is basically an L-shaped tube that allows you to have short vertical post perfectly centered between your uprights. There's a dual function lat pull down and low row pad that is a leg holder for lat pull downs, then flips down with a pop pin to double as a metal foot brace for low rows. The Optimus pad, which at the base is a chest support or lat pull down seat and has an additional tube to swap between leg rollers for lat pull downs or even an adjustable military bench back pad that mounts to the Optimus seat itself. And finally, the standalone military bench frame, which is a modular 3x3 standalone frame to mount to any of the aforementioned attachments to, or your own at home if you want to get creative. So there's so much to unpack here functionally and really just depending on how you want to set up any combination of these. So let's check it out. So this right here is the Optimus pad. We're going to start with this first because I think this is the most kind of capable and kind of the centerpiece of most of their new attachment line. This is a multifunction seat. You see here it's a big bracket and we'll kind of go into the adjustments for right now. You can clearly mount it to a 3x3 tube. They include these magnetic hitch pins that go into the second hole and a threaded knob so that this is securely on your rack despite all the weight you can throw at it. You can buy this by itself, but you can see here there's a little attachment tube made for other things. The seat pad itself here has a bunch of different adjustments so you can adjust the angle all the way to vertical and potentially use it as some sort of back pad if you want to pull up a bench for things like military press. And of course, chest supported rows. The pad itself, it goes a little bit past 90 for you to be able to do things where you want your actual seat angle to force you down towards the rack or where you're pulling a little bit. A couple different adjustments height-wise as well. So this will be the lowest height. Obviously we have a little high here, but you can adjust it all the way up here. So you have about, what is that? I don't know, like a 6-inch, 7-inch range of height, which then makes it really helpful for you just kind of stick it on the rack, and then there's enough height adjustments to where you don't have to pick the exact perfect rack hole every single time. The other cool thing they include is this little tightening knob. So then there's no wobble or anything here. Tighten both the threaded pop pin and the knob, and now that thing is not going anywhere. As a seat, as a chest pad, this is very capable. Let's talk about some of the attachments. You can buy any of these individually. The first one, the big one, is going to be leg holder. Just like with the seat pad, there's a pop pin, and both the pop pin and the little knob on the side are threaded. So you tighten those down to get exactly the tension you want. And now this isn't moving, and now this isn't moving. It's fixed to the rack. You can sit on it for things like lat pull downs. This right here is the equivalent of things like the Rep Pegasus, which is about $400, and the Rogue Monster utility seat, also $400, but with shipping. This Optimus pad plus the leg roller is about $230, I think. However, they charge shipping, GetRX'd, so to me, shipped to my door somewhere around $300. So you save about 25% compared to Rogue or Rep. And honestly, I think the ecosystem here is a little bit better when we talk about the rest of the attachments that you can add on here and just the different angles and stuff like that. Again, it's really easy to hop in. If you decide the leg rollers need to be adjusted down, you unthread the pop pin, pop those down, thread that back in. Oh, by the way, you decided I want the seat a little bit lower. Same thing, unthread, adjust it down, 1 or 2 holes. One thing I will mention, if you want to do heavy lat pull downs, for example, you will obviously need some way to add additional weight to the weight stack because this is a 2-to-1 ratio. I'm showing this here on their RX3 Tornado rack. This is a 210-pound weight stack, and a 2-to-1 ratio means you're only getting 105 pounds of weight here when it's fully maxed out. That's where you have to get something like a weight stack adder pin, and then you can put Olympic weight plates on there in order to load additional weight. So that's what you will need if you want to actually do truly heavy single-sided lat pull downs and fully make use of this seat on a singular post. The other attachment is going to be what they call the Optimus Back Pad or military pad. All of these pieces, there's just too much complexity and honestly adjustments and angles to go into all the detail here. But GetRX fortunately puts all of these on their website in extensive detail about the tube sizes, about the angles, the amount of adjustments. So I'll link their website in the description below. Check that out if you're interested for all the technical details. But this seat itself is adjustable angle now. So you can see it's like a narrow back pad. So you can use this as a military bench for anything from dumbbell flies, dumbbell presses. Of course, it becomes more functional when we show it with the next attachment. When the center post, you'll be able to do things more like chest supported cable rows, stuff like that. For the single post, I probably don't recommend getting this pad because it really is geared towards being mounted in the center of the rack, which brings us to the center post attachment, which I think is their coolest / most unique / most functional, and also the cheapest attachment that provides the most value, and you don't really need any other attachments to buy from them if you buy this and want to use the ones you have at home. So this is their center post attachment. Now, one thing I want to say, this is the perfect time to say it. So this is a metric 3x3 rack. Obviously, these attachments are made for their RX3 series. It's a metric 3x3 rack. Now, things that have 2 holes like this will not fit Imperial racks. Because the hole spacing is different from metric to Imperial, this second hole will not line up. It will not work. So just know you cannot use these on Imperial 3x3 racks, the ones that have any sort of 2 attachment holes. Same thing even goes for the military bench frame that has a singular threaded pin and a second mag pin. If you try to do this on an Imperial rack, and I have tried, this mag pin will get stuck. It will not go all the way through, and then you will not have that sort of secondary locking mechanism. So I would like to see that from GetRX in the future. Maybe they did this to try to keep people within their ecosystem. I don't know. So unfortunately, it does not work on Imperial racks. Now, one suggestion I would have for them that could be a very easy way to fix this, maybe they could have a single threaded and the second would be some sort of mag pin, but then they might lose on some of the stability. Things like the Optimus pad over here, rather than make this a circular hole, could make this a little elongated. We've seen this on other similar attachments. Then that way, basically, the Imperial and metric second hole would line up because you'd have a little more room to play, and that would make it work. The other thing to mention with this, since it's made for GetRX racks, it's made to be exactly the center of a 42-inch width interior. So from here to here is 42 inches. That's going to be the same as Titan Fitness. If you have a rep rack, it is metric, but just know you'll be technically, like a ½ inch off because that's a 41-inch interior. Not a big deal, not the end of the world. Just keep that in mind. This is made to be centered specifically on GetRX'd RX3 racks. The other downside in all this, as you can maybe guess, is simply just the storage and or moving of all of this. But when we're talking about home gyms, I think we are all well versed in the fact that you can't have everything you want. You can't have the price you want. You can't have the space you want. So we have to make sacrifices. We have to make compromises. That is one thing you also have to be careful of when you're doing all this. You have to think about what movement you're going to do next, because let's say I wanted to slide the arms down to do like some sort of chest supported row. Oh, I actually wanted them here. Geez, that's a bummer. So you gotta take this off, put it on the ground, put it back on, slide the arm down. So just know you have to be a little more thoughtful about this. Again, with home gyms, you can kind of expect this. We're willing to sacrifice some of the convenience, trade it for more functionality. But I've done all sorts of cool things on this. And unfortunately, the B-roll will only show a handful of them. But I mean, anything you could potentially want center mounted something for. You put the back pad a little more straight. You can do super, super wide chest flies, like with these tornado arms, just like you would a bench, but it's centered and it's not going to go anywhere depending on how much weight you put on it. Or, of course, the tried and true, you don't want the military bench pad, center mounted lat pull downs, utilizing the full capabilities of these arms, depending on the height you want it, depending on the angle. And now you have a completely center mounted post So that's what's awesome, is being perfectly centered in the rack. I've found some application for this outside of the tornado rack, and I think most people could do that as well. The lat seat in itself is functional, but you could choose just not to use the lat seat. This is a 2-in-1 attachment made again for this center post. They showed at Home Gym Con this year, which is pretty cool. It's got this metal plate here, and it has about 180 degree, again, maybe just a little bit shy, different settings, broken into, I think, 8 or 9 increments. You can move the center post attachment to the ground, do something like low rows with your feet here supported. You're doing low rows with the tornado arms or whatever cable system you want to have. I've actually used this on the center post attachment off of the front of an upright to give me more space and more range of motion to do low rows on my other rack with things like Voltra or any other cable systems. When you're done doing low rows, what's cool is you actually really don't even have to move it at all. You can just rotate this. Now the metal bracket goes out of the way. It's sitting on top. And now this is a leg holder. These roll, by the way, these rotate. Leg roller, leg holder for lat pull downs. And they're actually really, really soft and really comfortable. Feel really good. I would equate this pretty much to like a commercial lat pull down. Perfect mixture of kind of soft, but dense enough. This is one I recommend if you don't need like a lat seat and you just want to use a bench and something for low rows. That's a great option. This works best, in my opinion, for low rows, obviously, when you do have something like a center mount, unless you do get this center post and do it in the configuration that I showed, get you farther away from the rack to get really, really deep range of motion. Again, completely up to you and your imagination. Now, the last part of all this RX3 series is not so much now an attachment as much as it is a different way to mount all of these existing attachments that we've already gone through. The center post, I would say, is great for center mounting, but it's not great for getting you far away from the rack. Well, certain exercises actually feel better when you're a little bit farther away from the rack, whether that's 1 or 2 or 3 feet. Now, your typical options are to pull up some sort of adjustable bench, put it wherever you'd like, but adjustable benches tend to move, and maybe you do want something really, really heavy and really centered. That's where they have the RX3 military bench / military bench frame. This is a standalone 3x3 platform. Effectively achieves the same thing as the center post attachment. So you wheel this attachment. Obviously it fits in between their racks, but you can also keep it to the outside. On the outsides are removable weight plate horns, so you can load this down. Again, one of the reasons you'd probably want something like this is to be further away from the rack, to be able to weight it down so it does not slide out of the way. And then, since it's modular and 3x3, the exact same attachments you put on the rack go right on here. I find this not super particularly helpful for things like lat pull downs or low rows. To me, this bench is if you want specifically to use more things like the military back pad is what is most useful for, because now you can take this away from the rack, you can back this up, use your cable system, whether it's the tornado arms, whether it's something else, to do things like chest supported rows, to do things like different angle from the rack, chest flies, cable flies. I will do any sort of like one arm lateral raise even, get a really big stretch. And again, some people will argue, just get an adjustable bench. Yes, you can do that. This gives you the option to push it out, to weight it down. I think they have like a Viking press, among other things. But for me, I think between the center post attachment particularly and this Optimus seat pad with the leg roller and that lat and low row attachment, I think those are going to be your best bang for buck as far as functionality, value, everything else. The military bench frame can be helpful, but I think you can pretty much do the same thing with their existing attachments and or your own adjustable bench at home. Honestly, there's not much in the way of improvements or things that I don't like. The biggest con, as I sort of alluded to earlier, is setup time, just because you have to use your rack for other things. and you have to find somewhere to store these. But as far as the functionality and adjustments and quality of all the attachments, there's absolutely zero issues. They have the tightening, tensioning pins along with the pop pins, everything you can tighten, everything you can thread, everything's got good tolerance. So honestly, for the price, I cannot complain. As far as any other improvements go, there's honestly not many other than potentially making it fit metric racks in the future. Because yes, well, I know they made this for their racks. I think there's a little kind of gold mine here that they're doing just a fantastic job of making these different attachments. So I can't recommend these enough. And really, there's not really any downside to any of these. I can't find a way to make any of these things better minus the minor things that I mentioned prior. So guys, that's it for this review of the GetRX'd new RX3 attachments. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll be happy to answer or at least try. Thanks for tuning into the Jungle Gym Reviews. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Peace.